Welcome to the Friendly Fire Show, episode 142 for the 25th of June. I'm Stevivor's Steve Wright.
I'm Ben from Stevivor.
Welcome back. I know you've been back for a while, but welcome back since the first time I've talked to you and stuff.
It's good to be back. It was a fun time in LA for E3. It's an interesting place.
Even delayed, you still had fun, which is good.
Yes, well, both Virgin and Qantas cancelled their flights out of LA just after E3, so there was no way back.
You made it back eventually, and work wasn't too mad. And I hope you had enough fun. Was it worth going?
Absolutely. It's always a good time. I don't think people understand the insanity of it and how busy it is, but it's always fun. You've done, 6 or so yourself? So,
yeah, I think so. It would have been a weird one without Sony and without Activision on the floor. I know Activision was kind of there still, but
yeah,
it would have been different for you this year. It would have been different for you since the last time you went too. I know last year when I went, Ubisoft is an example who sent both of us, me last year and you this year. They had stuff for us upstairs away from the general public, which was just so nice not to have to kind of go through the booth and try to elbow people to get to where you need to be. So,
well, it was the first one I went to since it became public. So 2016 was the last one I went to, and that was just the year before it was a public event. So it does feel very different, and it felt very quiet this year. You say there was no PlayStation, there was no Activision having a booth. EA's been gone for a while. It did feel very quiet.
Well, there you go. You did go to EA though, which is more than I did last year. It was in Hollywood, and it was way too far for me to get to and feel like. So good on you for doing that.
Only for 10 minutes.
We'll probably get to talk about EA and some stuff later, but I thought because clearly, Ben, you've listened to the other E3 podcasts that we've put out, surely by now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we talked about the press conferences they happened. We didn't with Nintendo because it was 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, and we were kind of done by then. You covered Nintendo for us, so thank you. And you also obviously went to Nintendo on the show floor. So I thought we'd talk about Nintendo and then kind of leave it to you to talk about other stuff that you want to from E3. So
cool, let's do it.
I'm going to be quiet and you do all the talking, really.
Well, let's talk Nintendo. So let's go disappointment first. There was no Metroid Prime Trilogy HD, so that was all I wanted, and they didn't do it. But they did give us a look at Luigi's Mansion 3, which is really good. We'll get to that in a second. But no release date, which was a bit strange because it's already June, and traditionally at E3 is when you announce your dates for the games coming out that year. So that was kind of strange. Link's Awakening did get a date that's coming out in September. Played that a bit. It's really good, I think. It's not... If Breath of the Wild is a AAA game, I would say this is more like an A game. It's good, but it's not going to blow you away to the same level, but it looks really good. It looks like a bunch of toys, so I think you're going to sell some amiibo here, Nintendo. And I hadn't played it, so it's one of the few Zelda games I'd never played before, so I think it's a really smart choice for a remake. Or, actually, it is. It's a full remake. So if you played the original, the puzzles will be exactly the same, but just look a lot more modern.
And if you can't be bothered with that because it's too cutesy or it's a game you've played before, there's that Breath of the Wild remake, which they've announced at E3 as well. So
the sequel,
kind of something
yes.
Zelda for everyone.
I think that's a little whiles away, but...
oh, did I say remake? Sorry, yeah, sequel.
It will be
sequel.
Soon to remake.
They're remaking Breath of the Wild. It used to be on Switch, and now it's on Switch.
I think we might have to get that next year or the year after because they're using the same engine. They're following on. So if you throw your mind back to the N64, we got Majora's Mask about 18 months after Ocarina of Time. So they're obviously following that same blueprint. Here's a direct sequel. It won't take anywhere near as long to make. So I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah, and it basically came to be because they were thinking of DLC ideas and just became it. They just kept coming up with these ideas that they really liked, and the DLC turned into a sequel. So,
and yes,
they've been pretty much working on it since the Breath of the Wild was finished. From the sound of it,
word has it Nintendo want to release a Zelda game on Switch every year. So we had Breath of the Wild, obviously. Last year, I don't think. What did we get last year? Nothing. Maybe that was the off year. Link's Awakening this year, maybe something next year. They've got the 2 HD games on Wii U they could easily port over, so easily doable.
And things like Cadence of Hyrule, which is sort of a Zelda game, but not. So
a fake Zelda game. People said it's really good, but I haven't played it. So, did you play it?
Yeah, neither have I.
So we shouldn't judge it then.
No.
What else did they have? So they're your main. They obviously had Pokemon, which I played a little bit of. So we're moving more 3D than the Let's Go games were. They were kind of in between. This one goes a bit more 3D.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
They've
that
got
great
rid
to
of
play
Z
it.
moves and Mega Evolutions in place of something called Dynamax, I think it's called. So Pokemon get like super
Yeah.
duper big and have attacks and
I
things
got
like
destroyed by that big Pokemon in the section I played.
that. In
No,
like
I
the
was playing
group
on a
raid type
TV
thing or like on your own?
on my own.
Because you. Oh, okay.
It was a very controlled demo, so we just got a little taste of it. But yeah, it obviously is the first kind of 3D style RPG Pokemon, and it just didn't look that good to me. So it didn't look bad, but it looked a little murky. So maybe it could look a little better, I thought. It is, of course, the best looking Pokemon game by a long way because the rest are pretty much all on 3DS. But yeah.
Well, there you go. What else? Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 are coming to Switch. So that's exciting, but we've all played those games before, so moving on.
I think more impressive is The Witcher 3 is coming to Switch. So I would not have thought Switch could play this. And we still haven't seen it play it. We saw a very small snippet of gameplay, but apparently it can. So that's actually quite exciting.
Well, it can in 540p handheld and 720p in docked mode. So
dynamic 720p, so maximum 720p and a bit of drop. Anyway, it'll look fine in handheld mode. I think it'll just be a matter of how does it really run?
Well, and if you want it in 4K, get it on Xbox or get it on PC, or if you want it upscaled to 4K, get it on PS4. But like if you like the idea of it and you want it in handheld form, that's the trade-off.
Yep.
And I think that's an acceptable trade-off too.
I think that's fine. If you should have played this game already by now, but if you haven't, it could be a good place to play it if you're a off TV kind of player.
And it's really good too. So
probably the biggest announcement they had is the worst kept secret of the year that Banjo-Kazooie is coming to Smash Bros. Phil Spencer said he'd do it about 4 years ago, and he's finally done it. So yeah, I mean that's a cool announcement to actually have it. We know that Nintendo and Microsoft are buddies now, so to see them doing some more stuff together is good. And that's about it, actually. They didn't really have that much. They had the Secrets of Mana games. How many were there? About 3 coming to Switch. So
2 or 3? Yeah, I'm not even sure.
There was a collection of them and a remake as well. So there's a few there if you're into that. Square Enix probably announced about 6 Final Fantasy games for Switch. I can't remember. There's got to be at least 3. There was a few.
There's far too many.
Yeah.
I'm just going through a list now. I should have had this prepared, but phoned it in tonight, Ben. What else? New Super Lucky's Tale in kind of Microsoft's tradition, putting things to Switch. That's coming.
Alien Isolation. That was playable, Super Lucky's Tale, but I didn't really notice it in the Direct. It just kind of flashed up on screen.
Oh, there you go. The Fire Emblem, Three Houses trailer, an Astral Chain trailer. Animal Crossing's got a name. It's called New Horizons. It's delayed till March 2020. So, whoops. And No More Heroes 3 right. as well, 2020.
That's right, yep. We got some 2020 stuff, which is rare for Nintendo. They're normally more only this year. But I suppose they'd already announced Animal Crossing and they had to tell us, please understand. But that's fine. I'm not surprised. They've got a lot of stuff coming out this year, so they probably wanted to delay it for that reason too.
Well, they've got a lot of really good stuff coming out. Like I'm super keen on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is August, I think. And like Luigi's Mansion is this year. We don't know when, but that's good news too.
We don't know when, yeah.
If you hadn't played Spyro and you really want to, the trilogy comes out on PC and Switch in September. So like there's tons of games, like Nintendo first party or not, that should make a Switch owner pretty happy.
Yeah, it's a good year. And that's a good place to lead off because Luigi's Mansion 3 was one of our Best of E3 awards. Only one on Switch, actually.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since the last real Luigi's Mansion because there's been 2 on 3DS. One's a remake and one was the sequel. And it was good, but it's a 3DS game, so it's just not quite console level. So it's been nearly 20 years since we've had this level of quality. And it plays really well. So, did you play the original game?
For like 5 minutes. So really, no.
Well, it's horror done Nintendo's way. So it's a little bit dark, and they use a lot of purple. And that's scary. But the puzzles are really smart. I actually got stuck for a little bit, which is always embarrassing when you've got your Nintendo model there, who's also a minder of the station, and they just want to tell you what to do, but because I've seen it 100 times already. but they can't. And yeah, the look in their face, it's just kind of like, go the other way. Anyway, it's a smart game. The puzzles are really good. I think the combat's a little harder than it used to be, so it makes you work a little more. And it feels really tight. So I think Nintendo's onto a good thing here. It's not a classic Nintendo game. It's something we've only had a couple of times in 20 years. So that's exciting. From a publisher who always gives us the same thing constantly, we have something a bit different.
Nice. Is there the annoying Nintendo handholding at any point that you noticed?
Well, again, it's a demo, so the first 2 minutes was introduction to how to use the controls, but I think that may have just been for E3.
Oh, okay.
But no hand holding. I got stuck on a boss because I was doing the wrong thing, and there was no flashy super guide saying, do this instead.
Excellent. I'm down with that.
I think it's a bit different than the other games. We'll knock out two real quick because I didn't really play them. So we had Borderlands 3, which I played for about 15 minutes, and it seemed like a really tight, well-controlled, basically looter shooter. So the type of game that you normally love, although I know you're not a big fan of Borderlands. But yeah, I thought it played really well as an E3 demo. It was a short taste, but they put you through a pretty good mission to play. And then Luke had seen a lot more of it than I. So we've gone off his judgment. He says Borderlands back. I thought it felt good, so therefore it is a best of E3 game. And the other one is Doom Eternal, which I haven't played at all, but Jay went over pre-E3 and he played that, and I'm sure you guys spoke about that in the last episode.
Yeah, I had about 45 minutes of footage and B-roll to go through, and I was disappointed that I couldn't be playing it rather than just having to watch it. It looks like Doom. It looks like Doom with a couple more enhancements because it's a sequel. So you can do those cool kill flourishes to get extra armor and health in the original, in the 2016 original, I should say. And they've kind of added to that by giving you a flamethrower, and you get health from flourish kills, and now you can get armor back from a flamethrower kind of kill, and using the chainsaw and that kind of stuff gives you ammo. So it's that kind of Rage 2 kill creatively, almost Bulletstorm-esque kind of, chain these abilities together and not only look cool but feel cool doing it kind of thing. And I really like the 2016 Doom, and by Jay's account, it's not only that, but better. So it seemed like a no-brainer in terms of the awards.
Yep, that's good. I like 2016 as well, but I'm glad they've kind of progressed it a bit, because if we just had a straight-up sequel, I think it would probably be too much of the same thing. So it sounds like they've gone beyond, which is really what we wanted from a Doom sequel.
Yeah.
Similar, but not really, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, No 4. It actually looks really good. So Infinity Ward's last two games, Ghost and Infinite Warfare, have not been great. Ghost was pretty bad, actually. Infinite Warfare just didn't really do... It was not bad, but it didn't do what they're good at. So they're going back to Modern Warfare. It's a reimagining. It's not a sequel. It's not a direct remake either. It's a new version, because in their own words, the last game was out in 2007. Modern Warfare in 2019 is very different to Modern Warfare then. So
yeah,
it's a lot darker. It has basically a new approach to level design, because the AI is much smarter now, so we can have much smaller areas. We saw them play two missions. One was like a British-style townhouse, that kind of real small 3-story type of building. Mm-hmm. And the objective there is, it's not a classic COD kill 1,000 goons. It's a slowly go through the building and identify your own threats, because there was a bunch of people in there who you don't want to kill, and if you kill them, you fail instantly. But if you don't kill the enemies fast enough, they're going to shoot you pretty quick. So it was all about identifying the right people to kill at the right time, and it was quite tense, actually. The second one, you played in first person as probably a 10 or 11-year-old girl, and she's just seen her dad die. Someone came into their house and killed him, and then she basically has to fight for her life and figure out how to kill him, which she does with a screwdriver. And that was probably the moment that reminded me of Spec Ops, which came out a long time ago, probably 2010 or something like that. It's actually quite bleak and emotional, and I haven't really had that before in Call of Duty. So then we sat down with the developer, and he said, before you start, this game is fun, because that's the question everyone asked me is this game actually fun? Because it just looks so grim.
Yeah.
And that's what they chose to show us. They said, we chose to show you these missions, which are very different to what you've seen before. The classic COD, big mission level, probably a helicopter crash, I imagine. All that type of stuff still here. They just wanted to show that it's a bit more personal this time, and it's not America versus everyone. It's you see it through everyone's eyes, and everyone thinks they're the good guy. Which, if they actually do that, will be quite interesting, because I don't think we've had really a America is bad in Call of Duty before.
Not that well, unless you count all the twists and like the kind of rogue agents working for America. But yeah, no, I think you're right.
I think they probably will do the same thing, to be honest. But, they said everyone is good and everyone's bad. So
kind of in the same vein that like Rare is no longer Rare at this point, but like they're still Rare and they're making Battletoads and all these things. Like Infinity Ward is not the Infinity Ward that made the original Modern Warfare. They're basically Respawn at this point. Does it feel like a Modern Warfare game? I know it's obviously a reimagining and it's, like it's the future, but like, is it kind of like, is it worthy of the name, or is it kind of just,
I think so,
a cash in?
I think they've gone back to what they're still good at. They've still got some key stuff there. And one of the devs who walked us through this did work on the original games. He left and he'd come back, and he made it sound like, without really saying this, but he kind of suggested a lot have done that. So they've got a few people back who worked on the original game, then they left to do whatever, and they've come back now. So if they purposely went out and got those people again, potentially they've realized we need to just kind of go back a bit to what we did before. But yeah, I think it's worthy of the name. It's a little bit confusing because we've already had a Modern Warfare this generation a few years ago. So we've got 2 Modern Warfare 1s. And I think it's funny that the original game is called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and the 4th Modern Warfare doesn't have a 4 in the title, so comical.
Well, it does in our tag, because I don't know how to keep them separate otherwise.
So yeah, there's a problem. I don't know what they're going to do for the next game, because we've already had a Modern Warfare 2. Anyway, that's looking too far in the future. We've got a decent game here, and I think it's on the way back. But we haven't really seen multiplayer yet, so more to be revealed later.
Yeah, when we're supposed to, and not when we do accidentally early, because they told us that we were good to talk about everything, and then whoops. But look forward to Ben's official thoughts on multiplayer soon.
Never mind about that. A game whoops. I think you'll really like, you may have seen it before, is called Control from Remedy.
I hate you because I have not gotten to play that yet, and you have, and it is right up my alley. And it sounds like it's right up yours as well, which is really good.
It was really good. I actually hadn't realized how Metroidy it was in terms of the exploration and backtracking style gameplay, which obviously was announced last year, but I didn't really kind of pick that up. So really good, I think. There's a lot of areas which are kind of gated off from what I played. Obviously didn't have the right abilities to do it yet. And it's hard. Like, the enemies, they open the demo telling us this is how you get your health back. You've got to collect these orbs from enemies because you're going to die in this. So everything else you can figure out, but just to let you know, that's how you avoid death. Very important. What did you think last year when you saw it?
So I didn't, like, they sort of talked about the Metroid stuff, but to be honest, it kind of fell to the wayside because it was so much exposition that I was getting. So like, you're Jesse, you're not, a seasoned agent. You've walked into this place. It's the Federal Bureau of Control. It's crazy. You take the gun, you become the Bureau's head and figure it out. So they were showing us more of the kind of Twin Peaksy Alan Wake kind of atmosphere stuff around it. Not so much the Metroidvania stuff. So I like that those two together is basically what the game is from the sound of it. So I didn't see a lot of combat. I saw a lot of the atmosphere. Like the craziest thing was she went down into this like sub basement and into this kind of like prison cell-y area, but it wasn't, like a traditional prison cell. One of the cells, air quotes, was like this guy with his back to you sitting in a chair looking at a fridge. And he's like, oh, thank God someone's here. It's been like 36 hours. I haven't been able to stop looking at this fridge. I need to look at this fridge, or if I don't, something horrible happens, and you're here to replace me, right? And you're like, no, sorry. I'm just trying to figure this out. You got to stick around for a bit. And I think there was a side quest involved in trying to help the poor dude, but like, obviously we didn't get to see that. So it's just like really cryptic, cool stuff. And knowing Remedy and knowing what they do, like, it just seemed right up my alley. So I didn't see a lot of the stuff that you got to, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm curious if the combat is good. So like Alan Wake is one of my favorite games, but the combat was still a little bit like Max Payne-y, which, like during the time of Max Payne was fine, but by the time we got to Alan Wake, a number of years had passed, and maybe it was probably the clunkiest bits of the game. Quantum Break was a lot better, but still, like, not, to me, not like the best of what Remedy does. Remedy's more about the atmosphere and setting up the world. So what did you, like, I know it's hard, but like, was it frustratingly hard, or like,
no, it wasn't frustrating.
It's difficult and you have
I didn't actually die at all, but it did feel Quantum Breaky to me, so I think it's not too dissimilar to that. So you've got your gun. So mine, obviously, it can change to be a few different types of weapons, which is just the one gun. Mine basically was swapping between being this kind of powerful handgun and a shotgun. So adapting to that in a 40-minute demo, I didn't quite get. But yeah, I mean, it was quite powerful. Headshots are pretty good once you get them. There's some different enemy types. So the human-style enemies, which are kind of possessed, are one thing, but then having to deal with, I don't even know what the other enemy was. It was kind of more like a spidery type thing that moved very quick, and they fight each other. So you can kind of leave them to deal with each other if you want, and you want to hang back, or you can get involved. And you've got your supernatural ability is very important. So you can kind of grab the debris around you and throw it at your enemy. And I really use that to save myself a lot, because just to hurl that and kind of smash people around is how I got out of some sticky situations. So yeah, I thought it felt good, but it's trying to be tough, and that's clearly what they're going for here. They don't want something that you're just going to breeze through, and you're really going to have to use your ability as well, which again is very Metroid. Using what you have available at the right time is the key, I think.
Nice. Yeah. As much as I am pissed off that I didn't get to play it, I'm really excited that I'm kind of going in relatively fresh. So like, I don't know a terrible amount about the game right now, apart from like the backstory. So I'm really, really excited for when August rolls around and I get to get my hands on it and just go exploring.
It's basically very soon as well, which is nice, because we normally have to wait a long time for E3 games, and this one is August.
Yeah, there you go. What next, Ben?
Well, also August, I think, is The Dark Pictures, The Man of Medan, which is from the Until Dawn developers, Supermassive Games.
Supermassive, yep.
Very similar.
And it's basically Until Dawn, but like on multi-platform.
Yeah, I would say that. I think it changes things a bit, because Until Dawn got a promotion because it was a PlayStation exclusive, so they don't have that anymore. But the Dark Pictures is...
And they had like a big name in Hayden Panettiere, and now they have, oddly enough, a bigger name. Well, not a bigger name, a similar big name in... God, I've forgotten his name.
Sean... Someone Ashmore? Ashcroft?
Ashmore, yeah. Who was in Quantum Break. Anyway,
which is
keep going.
Very interesting. Well, this is... The Dark Pictures is going to be an anthology. So I think they said they're going to release a game. Did they say every 6 months or every 12 months? Something like that. Relatively frequently, and they're all going to kind of follow different tropes of of horror, and they're obviously going to be interactive games. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. This one I played very early, so I was playing probably what I imagine is the start of the game. You are group of 5 people, 4 friends and a ship captain who's about the same age. They just kind of head out to the seas for a fun night. Sean Ashmore's guy is pushing everyone to drink a lot, so you got to figure out what type of character he is just by that. And then they run into some pirates, and it was very Captain Phillips. They just decide to take over. They're in this massive storm, so no one can hear them, even when the radio goes off, they can just say, oh, we're in trouble because of the storm, not because of the pirates. So they get in some trouble there. You make some pretty hasty decisions, and we eventually hit the ghost ship, which is where I think most of the game takes place and where the horror comes into it. So we didn't actually see that much of that, but it did feel similar to the start of Until Dawn, where it's just some friends mucking around. They get into some trouble, but probably the biggest threat is still to come later on. So yeah, I really like this style of game. I think Supermassive is pretty good at it, and now that they've got more control over it without Sony, they might take it in some new directions.
Yeah, I really like Supermassive's games anyway, but Until Dawn was clearly the best one. I think they did The Impatient as well, which was like a VR thing where it kind of got into that VR thing where like things were coming at your face because they could. It's like, yeah, I'd rather just it be atmospheric and like well written and like character driven, and that's what Until Dawn was to me. So this looks similar, and like I'm keen for whatever they do, so I'm keen for this one. Hope it's
Hopefully,
good.
yeah. I think it's a budget title, so well worth exploring for relatively cheap, hopefully. A game that you saw last year, which you actually probably know more about than me, is Cyberpunk 2077. Because you got the good E3 demo from what I hear. The one this year was not as good because it wasn't as surprising, but it did have Keanu in it, so he's there. He's hanging around.
Did you get a jacket?
I did get a jacket. It's reversible. It's black on one side, yellow on the other. Very exciting.
You need a picture of that, and you need to send me a picture so I can put it up on the socials.
Yeah,
or you at least need to brag about it. Come on,
I haven't been influenced just yet. When I can get some money, that'll be great.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So why was your demo bad? My demo was really good. It showed kind of waking up in a lot of the world. It showed the guy who was in the limo in the gameplay trailer that they showed when Keanu stepped on the stage, who looks like he died in the limo. So from my understanding, I thought that guy was going to be your partner throughout the entire game. Turns out, no, he probably dies, but then I guess Keanu Reeves takes his place in your mind. He's like a digital
he is in your
thing?
mind.
Right?
So it wasn't a bad demo, just I don't think it was the same mind-blowing one that people got last year because we kind of knew what to expect. But yeah, it was still good. They just focused a lot more this year on the customization, so how you can make your character, your V is the name of the character, quite different depending on what you want to do and how you want to play, which is pretty standard kind of RPG action game. And yes, so his name is Johnny Silver something. Can't even remember now.
Silverhand.
So good old Silverhand. So yes, he seems to be kind of like
not Johnny Mnemonic.
No.
Close though. Have you seen that movie? It's awful. Oh my god. Anyway,
yeah. So he kind of
don't
he's kind of like this hologram type of guy. So he's just kind of hanging around in your imagination by the looks of things, and he's pointing you in the right direction quite a lot. So he has the.
Well, from what he said, it seems like he has free will, and he's like, I'm trying to get you to do what I want you to do.
I think so.
Is that what you want? Is that what you need? Or is it, me like trying to fulfill my own ends? So I kind of like the idea of that. Is he an AI assistant? Is he a virus that you can't get rid of or something? I like the idea. I hope they don't kind of give you all the answers.
We don't really know, so they didn't really show that. They showed a lot of the fact that, you can be plugged into anything, and it's a big no-no to plug into someone without their permission. So a bit of a consent message going on in this game. And we saw some combat, not a lot. So we went past a section when we could barge in through the front door. We could go more stealthy through the back, and that's what they did. So it seems to be the theme of games at the moment, but it's very much a choose how you want to play, choose your type of player, and go with it that way. And yeah, it looks really good. So we saw a glimpse of the world. We saw him riding around on his motorbike. I don't think we saw any of that last year. So yeah, they're opening it up a bit more and they're trickling out more information, but there's a lot about this game that we really don't know still.
I think we could talk about Cyberpunk forever, so we should probably stop, especially since it's not coming out till 2020, so there'll be ample time to talk more. What else do you want to talk about, Ben?
Well, we did get to play Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is one of the few people got to play that because we were an E3 judge this year, which is very exciting.
We will take those privileges and we will use them.
I think this is an interesting game where EA live streamed part of the game, and then we got to play kind of an extended part of that. And what they showed did it no justice at all, because I thought the live stream, which I watched the day before, kind of looked kind of bland and a bit boring, really. And then I played it, and it was awesome. So they have not sold it very well through their own marketing, because it's one of those games that you really need to play. I don't think it's going to stream well. Sorry, influencers. I think you need to play it to understand it, because the combat feels great. The force powers, your lightsaber, how you use it, it's actually quite tough. Yeah, another tough game. Quite demanding. It makes you kind of work to get kills and to time things well. So you can't just destroy. You can destroy some kind of dodgy stormtroopers as you would expect in Star Wars, but there's tougher ones which make you fight. So I like that. I thought it played really well, and I'm actually quite excited for it now.
Nice. Well, it looks like Titanfall with Force Unleashed. Is that too unfair of it, or is that relatively spot on?
No, that's relatively. So it's another Metroidvania game, which we didn't really get to see, but there will be a lot of backtracking apparently. Got a little taste of the skill tree, but they wouldn't let us kind of poke around in there. Just we got a glimpse of it. So I think you will upgrade your guy a lot. and there's probably more kind of wall running and platforming and exploration of the world than you really noticed, because it looked very actiony what they showed. But I think there will be exploration, so you better move around. You better use your abilities to get to areas which you don't think you can get to, which is pretty much what Titanfall 2 did in its campaign. So to break up the combat. So I think that's a fair example to say it's Force Unleashed and Titanfall 2 combined, plus a bit of modern Star Wars. So
nice.
Yeah, I think it's going down the right path, and it's very nice that we finally have a single player Star Wars game again, because EA has totally fluffed this. And they've taken a long time. What are they, year 7 or 8 in their deal of Star Wars games? Then we've had 2 Battlefronts.
Well, that's cool. We have a whole bunch of Star Wars games with surprise mechanics. So clearly, everybody's happy about that.
Yeah,
surprise mechanics. What a joke.
Anyway. It wasn't the only Star Wars game, because the whole saga is getting a Lego game. So
we are not talking about a Lego game on this podcast. I draw the line at a Lego game. I'm very sorry.
Well, I think it's being all remade. I don't think it's a remaster of the old ones, but they didn't really say that.
I don't even care. I don't have enough care to even care. I could care less, Ben.
All right. So
how about Watch Dogs?
Well, Watch Dogs, I think, is probably the best game we got to see at E3. Because we got to play it. So there's a couple of others we didn't get to play, and it's just you don't quite get the same feel from it. But we did play Watch Dogs. If they've nailed this play as any character thing, and from what I can tell, I mean, we played as Helen for a while, but we played as a bunch of people. So they all felt unique. They didn't feel like just the same, 10 archetypes with a different skin on them. They seemed like they were different characters. If they pull that off for an entire game, I think this is something we haven't really played before. So the core is still very Watch Dogs, but that's a very different way of doing it. And there's barely any games which doesn't have any protagonists. You normally either have your set character or you make one yourself, and that's who you play as the whole game. So the fact that you can play as 100 different people in this game if you want is very unusual, and it seems like they've done a very good job of it. Or they've at least demoed it to us for 45 minutes and made it look very good.
The thing that I don't quite understand is how they're going to have enough people coming in and recording all of the sound and all of the voice lines, so you're not just getting repeats, if that makes sense. Like, and how they're even going to plan that. Like, do they actually have to make hundreds and hundreds of characters and like fully flesh all these characters out, or is it all like dynamically generated, and how they deal with the voice? And so like I feel like it sounds really good, and it maybe is too good to be true, and we're probably going to see people trying to mess with the system and find like the cracks in it, and I hope that doesn't happen. But it just seems like I don't know how to wrap my head around what they're trying to do. Like, I hope they do it, but I'm kind of skeptical in the same breath.
Well, that's what they said. They said it's not procedural, so it's a fully systemic world, and it isn't just, randomly generated characters. They've made them all. So that threw me off as well. Exactly the same thing. How did you deal with this dialogue? And voice actors have done multiple different characters. They didn't shy away from that. But apparently they're all different characters, in the same way that you've got, 6 people do all of the Simpsons characters. They've all done different characters, and they all have different dialogue. So the thing that threw me off even more is, I said, if you ignore, 30 characters for most of the game, but then you go look and see what they're up to, they will have had interactions with each other throughout the whole time you've been playing. So it doesn't matter that you haven't got involved with them. They all have their own stories, and they all play out. So it does sound a little bit, how is this possible?
So is it technically like a fail state to the game, where if you recruit every single person and kill them to the point where there's no one left roaming the world, you just lose? Like, this is all the stuff that really intrigues me. It's like, I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to do it, but like, I want to know these answers.
I think there'd be too many characters.
That's a challenge,
for that to be possible.
I'm not going to take it.
You know what? It's going to be one of those things where they're like, sure, that's possible, but it would take you 1,200 hours, So we'll see. It's actually quite hard to kill a character, because you have to kind of agree to it. So when you get downed, you have the choice to surrender or to fight on. If you surrender, your character just goes to prison for a little while. If you fight on, you pop back up with a little bit of health, and if you die again, then they're out. No more Helen. So I asked them about that. They did that because they don't want you to form an attachment with someone and then just have them taken away. There's a wild explosion or something, as can happen in an open world game. You can, be killed by something totally out of your control. They don't want you to lose a character you really like because of that.
Cool.
So it's always your choice. And you only have 20 active slots at once. So once you've got a roster of 20, you need to either let some go or kill them off, I suppose, if you want to get more. And the benefit to having them is that they'll come to your aid and help you if you need it. So, but you can track another 50. So you have another 50, which you're kind of just keeping an eye on, who aren't necessarily.
I'm so excited for this. Like Watch Dogs, I didn't mind the first one, but it wasn't what it was kind of pitched to us as. Watch Dogs 2 was pretty good, but it was still kind of just like the Ubisoft check the map for 50 things to do in your vicinity kind of thing. That said, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and like deep diving into it because I'm having so much fun again. So like I think when I'm in the mood set or a mindset for that kind of Ubisoft game, it's like scratching the edge quite easily. So this one looks.
Well, I think it has a Assassin's Creed 2 feel about it. It kind of has. Before this, they've got some ideas together, but this one is kind of the last piece of the puzzle, which is that's what we were trying to do from the beginning. So yeah, I think they've got the main thing. It's in the last game you could hack almost anything. So essentially you kind of hack people, but it's not as simple as that. You have to convince them to join DedSec. So they don't just agree because you've tagged them. You have to. Some of them are easy to recruit. Some of them you need to go and kind of influence their lives in several ways before they'll come and join you. So yeah, it's a lot more involved than I thought that was going to be. And you will spend a lot of time doing that. So they found a way to make side missions interesting.
Oh, I'm keen for it. That's not till 2020 as well. There you go.
Yep, that's March 2020.
What else?
So we have Dying Light 2, which was another hands-off surprise, but also looks really good. So I didn't play much of the first one.
It was the kind of like parkour zombie thing where I had Mirror's Edge and I can't remember which zombie game I had at the time, and I kind of just felt like I think maybe Dead Island or something, and I'm like, I don't really need to play this one. And yeah,
I did play a bit, but I felt similar. But I think they've massively improved the parkour here, so they've gone beyond Mirror's Edge. I kind of feel like it's what Mirror's Edge has been trying to do the whole time. And there's a real purpose to it because you're running away. You're basically parkouring to survive. So when you fling through a half-broken wall, it makes sense because you want to get out from that, terrible situation. So it makes sense to me. It feels a lot better balanced. It's not just kind of run around, hold the right trigger, and your guy will just automatically run up the yellow pipe, which is what Mirror's Edge became. It seems like you can interact with the buildings in a lot of different ways. Very interesting looking world. And once again, this is a game about choice. So the demo that we saw played, you had a choice pretty early on. If you're hanging out with a guy, he gets shot, do you stay with him and try to help him, or do you kind of chase after the guys who shot him and try to get revenge? Obviously, if you leave him, he's probably going to die. But if you don't take this opportunity, you might not capture these guys again. So you're going to do that quick. Of more interest was the very last choice you had to make, which was basically, to summarize the story up to this point, is the city that they're in, the water's been cut off, and you need to go and turn it back on. But just before you do, a general says, the water was redirected for a reason, don't turn it back on. Do you believe him, or do you stick with your original mission and give it back to the town? So that's what they did. Then the camera kind of cuts to this outer city, which is basically under a bunch of water because it was flooded on purpose. Time lapse, we see the water go down and some even scarier looking zombie hands kind of push out through the dirt.
Well, then obviously don't redirect the water. Come on.
And the guys basically said, if you didn't take that choice, that whole section of the map you couldn't go to because the water would just be there for the entire game. So yeah, they really kind of pushed home the fact that this is meaningful decisions, and it not just story-wise, in terms of gameplay, they're going to affect what you can actually do. So I like the sounds of that. I like a decision which is actually impacting what you can do.
I'm really excited for that, which is strange because it wasn't really on my radar before. So
It wasn't to me either until E3, and then I actually hadn't had it booked. I had an hour free, and I got an appointment for it, and it looked really good. So
It's like fate,
I think you're
Ben.
onto a good
Perfect.
thing here. Funnily enough, they were right next to Cyberpunk, so it's two kind of
Techland
from Poland, maybe.
Is that? Yeah, I can't remember where they're from, but
yeah, somewhere close together in Europe. Two developers right next to each other at E3 who don't have a publisher, but both have massive games. So,
Dying Light was so weird though. It was at Microsoft's press conference, and you saw a trailer, and then it was at Square Enix's because they're doing the publishing, and it was exactly the same trailer. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, normally they'd prepare like maybe 2 packages if they know they're going to be in 2 press conferences. But hey, I respect that. It's the same thing. But that's beside the point. Do you want to finish off with some Project xCloud stuff, since we're not getting Stadia anytime soon? We might not get Project xCloud anytime soon, but hey.
We're not. But we I think we are getting it. I don't know.
From what I know, we all get it in October.
Or
get to try it in October, hopefully. I should say.
Well, we've got the Azure servers in Sydney, so it should be fine. But of course, there's 2 prongs here, so I don't know if Xbox made it as clear as they could have. And when it gets a proper name, I think they need to improve it, because there's 2 things going on. Project xCloud is your Stadia competitor, basically. You don't need an Xbox for that. Presumably, there will be a subscription fee of some type. They haven't announced that yet. Does it tie into Game Pass? We don't know. Probably. And you stream from Microsoft's Azure servers, and you stream. At the moment, they've only showed it to mobiles and tablets, but presumably it'll match xCloud, and you can stream to a PC or to your 4K TV, whatever you want, so you don't actually need the console. You can play Gears 5 without it. Console streaming, much more interesting for us because we already have an Xbox. You download your game, you leave it on there, then you stream from your own Xbox to your phone or whatever device, wherever you are, and there's no charge at all. So you're just using your own Xbox as your own personal server. Imagine it will work great over Wi-Fi in your own house. How it will work over your 4G, Telstra Optus connection, I'm not entirely sure. But we are getting 5G soon, so it may work well. And the E3 version we were streaming from, I think, San Francisco servers in LA, so a little bit of distance, but not heaps. And it worked flawlessly. So I played Halo 5 and Resident Evil 7, and they both streamed great. They looked amazing. So this is also 720p, same as the Switch's screen, but it just looked a lot crisper than Switch. Maybe because they were smaller, maybe because they're higher quality screens. Nice. I think they were Samsung Galaxy S10 or something. But yeah, it looks really good. Before we were talking about, you get your downgraded Witcher 3 on Switch, and that's what you get to be portable. Well, I think I prefer to play it on my phone with my Xbox controller and my Xbox save and my game score. So this is the future of handheld gaming, possibly. The only thing is, how do you play it? Because we had, I don't know if you saw it, we had a controller with a phone kind of stuck to the top. And while it works well, it's not very portable.
A lot of people were asking us where those controller things came from, and I asked Microsoft, and they said just Google controller phone clip. And surprisingly, doing that gives you like 50 variations on pretty much the same thing that they were showing at E3. So there's your answer, people.
Yeah, so we did ask the, I think, manager of Xbox Live or something, who was presenting it a bit more behind closed doors. I said, is Xbox going to release their own version? And he gave me the old big smile. We're not talking about that today, but watch this space. So I believe there will be an official Microsoft
but
one,
might also be 5 times as expensive, but we'll see.
Current ones on the market. Oh, it will be. But when you're spending $250 on an Elite Controller Series 2,
do you use the Xbox app on your PC at all to stream games in your network? So I sometimes do. So like if Matt's using the Xbox downstairs and I want to be downstairs on the couch with him, I will occasionally bring my Surface down, which is a Microsoft product, and use the Xbox app, or what's it called now, controller or console companion or whatever. And it sometimes works flawlessly, and sometimes using my home network, even if we're not doing a lot on the network, just has a whole bunch of weird artifact issues and some like input lag stuff going on. So I don't know if it's because it's not kind of using the Project X Cloud tech or something, but if the console streaming is equivalent to what I already have, it's not going to do well here in my mind, but no one said a bad thing about it. Obviously, we haven't seen the console streaming, but we've seen the Project X Cloud stuff using American internet. But I want to believe all of the positive, uplifting stuff that people have been saying. So, and they've done tests. Apparently, like latency is better than Stadia. Also, it was like 2 independent, like very uncontrolled tests where this information's coming from. But the tests were saying like the input lag is the same as playing Halo on your couch using your Xbox and your TV. So that is crazy if true and can be replicated outside of a consumer tech conference.
That is the big question. Will this actually work? And the streaming thing has been done by a few people, but not. Yeah, I think it must be better than what Xbox already has, because they're making it sound like it's quite different. Obviously, the first thing is you don't have to play on your home network. You can go out and play over the mobile network, which means it's using the Xbox not to just stream locally, so it must be uploading the game. I feel like it must be improved, but we haven't seen that, as you say, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But it sounds good. I think it's coming to a testing phase in October, so we'll get a better chance to play it. And at least with console streaming, there's nothing lost. So if it doesn't work out well, we haven't invested anything really, except for maybe a phone holder. And so it's all free, which I don't think anyone else can really match, because Stadia you're going to have to pay for whatever Bethesda.
I don't know what that is, to be honest. So let's just keep going.
Have a cost. Orion. No. Well, I read the press release, and they said it's
that developers can use. It's like, but they already have their own thing that they're using, and they seem pretty happy with.
What does that mean? Look, no doubt we're going to streaming, so I think we're going to get more of this next generation.
Well, like we were saying, this is all well and good, but who knows how Australian internet's going to handle it unless we all go to 5G or something. I'm slated to get NBN by this time next year, which I was told it was going to be October 2018. So there you go. Anyway, Ben, anything else you want to talk about before we are done for the night?
I think we're done for this E3. It was a relatively safe one, but it was the one before the new consoles are coming. So Xbox's biggest announcement was next year we're getting a new console. So it kind of felt like that.
Yeah, well, it was still fun. Thanks for going over. Thanks for smashing out all the previews and stuff as well.
My pleasure. There's plenty up there. Go have a read, because there's still a lot of good games this year, and I think it was a safe year, but a strong year as well. So that's what you want towards the end of a generation.
Nice. We've talked about most of them. We've written about most of them on the site. I think there's still more coming. Just head over to Stevivor. Hit us up on social media. I'm SWrightAU on stuff. Ben, where can people find you?
I am Twitter also, Ben_Salter, and that is us.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a fortnight.